Joining me now is Bremmer. He is president and founder of the Eurasia Group and G0 Media. Thanks so much for being with us. A lot to get through here. Let's start there with Russia, Ukraine, Crimea. You know, Ian, conventional wisdom tells us that this will make little difference to Vladimir Putin. It may, in fact, stiffen his resolve, even though Ukraine is pressing ahead. I wonder where you think this will end up, especially at the end of the summer offensive.
Yeah, I'm worried about it because there are so many Russians now in Moscow and Petersburg that are talking amongst themselves about the fact that these drones are hitting their cities, that they're starting to feel unsafe. It's affecting their fuel with shortages and starting to affect their economy in ways that the sanctions for the last 4 years really have not, at least not for the elites in the major urban centers in Russia. And yet, if you read the state media, you'd have no idea that anything was going wrong. And so this, to me, 4 years on, this is by far the biggest strategic mistake that any major leader has made on the global stage since the Berlin Wall came down. I mean, the U.S. Iraq war, the Iran war we've just seen, those things are tiny compared to what Russia has done to his country and his people through this misbegotten invasion of Ukraine. And I fear that Putin is getting himself into a very dangerous situation. He's increasingly isolated from his own public. He spends much less time with his own advisors. He's looking more frail when you see him in the videos over the last few weeks, the last few months. And even his recent meeting in Beijing with Xi Jinping, the efforts made by the Chinese to talk about a ceasefire really went nowhere. And so it's not just that Trump was unsuccessful in Anchorage, it's that no one is able to talk Putin off a ledge. And I don't know where that ends up.
It is a bit shocking, the fact that China, as we know in the last few weeks, has been trying to intervene here to try and get to some kind of peace deal. And as you said, it's falling on deaf ears of Vladimir Putin. One more thing on this topic, Ian. We do have that NATO summit coming up in Ankara. Europe wanted to clear the decks, those European allies and Canada. Let's get this MOU done on Iran so that we can concentrate on Ukraine. Any more pressure that you feel Europe can put on Vladimir Putin to get to the negotiating table?
The sanctions aren't going to have any more meaningful impact. Biden wasn't able to do much there. And neither have the Europeans. So it's good to have the Americans more engaged with Europe on this front because Ukraine is seen as having a lot more cards than when President Trump kicked him out of the White House a year ago, April. I think the NATO summit is going to be reasonably successful. And I think the Secretary General, Mark Rutte, has done an admirable job of kissing President Trump's butt so that the European leaders don't have to. No, I mean, truly, right? I mean, he doesn't have, when he was
You're telling
Dutch
it like
Prime
it is.
Minister,
I get it. I get it.
He had his own population. He never would have been able to say these things. Now he can go and he can say how wonderful Trump is and what a genius, all these things that would make the European leaders sick to their stomachs. But Rutte is doing it so they don't have to. And NATO is going to outlive Trump. It's certainly going to outlast him in office. And the Europeans know that and need that. So, I mean, I give Rutte a lot of credit for his willingness to take a few repeatedly for the team.
Yeah, and he definitely has taken a few since Donald Trump came back into office. Let's go to Iran now. Can you please take the measure of the week for us from what we've seen, right? I mean, we are into this negotiation now, this 60-day period. We saw, as I call it, the Iranian flex on the Strait saying no one moves here unless we say you move. What do you believe? Do you think there's more or less likely a chance that a substantive deal in about 5 weeks from now, let's say, can be achieved?
Well, it's not less in the sense that I thought it was close to zero a week ago. So let's say I'm holding constant on that one. But the most important thing that's happened in the last week is we're getting a lot more oil and petrochemicals and helium and LNG through the Strait. And assuming that continues, within another month or two, we're going to have shipping back to where it was before the war. You're already starting to see that with gas prices in the U.S., and you'll see that pick up significantly, much to Trump's relief over the coming weeks. that does not mean that there is any necessity for the Iranians to cut a deal with the U.S. on the nuclear front. Why not? Because they don't have to, right? I mean, if they understand that Trump doesn't want to go back to war because, as you just heard, Trump was saying it would lead to an economic catastrophe, that doesn't magically change in another month and a half. Furthermore, the Iranians are going to be negotiating not just with the U.S., but separately, they're negotiating with the Gulf states, with the Europeans, with the Chinese, with the Russians, all of whom have an interest in getting the Strait back up to normal. So, I mean, they don't need to come to a final deal with Trump or with JD or with Jared or with Steve Witkoff in order to achieve much of what they wish to achieve going forward. They also don't trust the Americans, since it was the Americans and the Israelis that assassinated their leadership in the middle of negotiations last time around.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. This may be as good as it gets for now. Ian Bremmer, have a lovely weekend, and we always appreciate you having here on the
You too.
program. Really, thanks.